Good evening, I'm Ryan Bonazzo. Thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 2 new COVID-19 cases today. They're both close contact infections in First Nation communities. There are now 11 active cases across the district. Meanwhile, Medical Officer of Health Dr. Janet DeMille is glad that the province is implementing a vaccine passport rather than leave that responsibility to individual health units. She says that would have led to inconsistency. Corey Nordstrom has more.
Dr. Janet DeMille is relieved to see the province approve a vaccine passport, meaning neither she nor any of Ontario's 34 medical officers of health will need to craft the certificates for their respective areas. DeMille says that would have created unnecessary confusion.
If health units have to implement certain things, you're basically doing something 34 times, and then it does create some inconsistencies across.
DeMille expects the health unit's vaccine clinics will be busier going forward given the added incentive to get immunized.
Evidence shows when you have a vaccine certification process and where people have to show are not able to attend certain events that are not generally non-essential, that it does help get people immunized, as well as it improves the safety at those particular events.
According to the province, 80% of the District of Thunder Bay is now fully vaccinated against COVID-19, though its numbers are higher than that of the District Health Unit. Pop-up clinics like the one here at Inner City Shopping Centre are critical to increasing that number, offering vaccination at a convenient location.
Our experience is that we can get people that may not be the ones that would go to the Coliseum Clinic or to a pharmacy or to their primary care, that we're there and they take advantage of that.
The health unit recently waived fines for hair salons that opened in spite of provincial pandemic orders in June, but DeMille still stands by the initial shutdown orders and discipline for the defying businesses.
It's our job to be part of the enforcement of that. So if we're not doing that, we're essentially allowing somebody to break the law. In this instance, we did end up waiving those because they did come into compliance.
Corey Nordstrom, TVT News.
After provincial health officials warned of a major surge of COVID-19 this fall, Ontario is reporting 865 new infections and 14 more deaths. Today's case count marks the highest since early June. 540 of those cases, that's 62%, are among those who are unvaccinated. Colin DeMello has more on the latest provincial modeling and reaction to the vaccine passport.
Premier Doug Ford's decision to mandate vaccine passports came amid new modeling of what could happen if the Delta variant was left unchecked. The Ontario Science Advisory Table released these new projections, suggesting the fourth wave could eclipse the third wave under the worst-case scenario.
All those unvaccinated people out there will still be able actually to overwhelm our ICUs, and that's what we see in these projections.
The risk of another lockdown drove the government to implement a tool that the Premier had been resisting: vaccine certificates for non-essential businesses where masks cannot be worn. By October 22nd, the government will give vaccinated individuals a QR code to prove their status, which the restaurant industry says comes too late.
There's a lot of disappointment that they weren't able to have a app ready and the QR code's ready when it's being introduced. We have to go a month with a system where staff just aren't sure what to accept.
And restaurateurs say the government has to make the rules clear to avoid a conflict at the door.
We do not want to be in the middle of a vaccine passport fight. We want to take care of our guests. It's been a struggle right now to get people to come inside, to put on masks, to sit 6 feet apart. Now we have to manage the vaccine passport. This isn't our responsibility. We are looking for the government to take control of the situation and tell us which is the right way to go.
But as the province stares down a fourth wave, the science advisors say the government is actually on the right track.
The steps taken right now are all the right ones.
Pausing the reopening and adding vaccine passports, they say, will help reduce the spread in gyms and restaurants where the risk is the highest.
It will not only help keeping cases under control, but it will also keep those who are not fully vaccinated out of trouble so they don't end up that easily and that early in our ICUs. That's what we need.
The Ford government says Ontario is tracking towards the medium to low scenario, but did not provide evidence to back up the claim.
The medical officer of health for the Northwestern Health Unit is calling the vaccine passports good news. Dr. Kit Young-hoon believes the passports will encourage people to roll up their sleeves and will also help reduce the likelihood of large groups of unvaccinated people gathering in high-risk settings. She believes the decision by the province to limit the proof of requirement to certain non-essential businesses is a fair one as well.
The settings they chose are settings where individuals can, that are considered higher risk. So individuals are coming within 2 meters of each other, or they're exerting themselves in a way that could increase or make it easier to spread COVID-19. So they've not applied it to medical services or other essential services. These are things that are optional for individuals. So it's not required for any specific individual to use any of these type of services.
The NWHU is reporting 1 new case today in the Kenora area, bringing the region's active total up to 5. And vaccination coverage across the NWHU has plateaued. About 73% of eligible people have gotten 2 doses. Young-hoon wants to get that number into the 80s. City crews are busy in the Current River area, pulling out 2 pieces of water line infrastructure that are more than a century old. The 2 water mains that run along Marion Street between Dewey and Current Avenue were installed in 1909. They've begun corroding and need to be replaced. Crews are also adding an 8-inch water line for homes and will be replacing their sanitary sewer before filling in the hole and repaving the street. City staff say the project has been a long time coming and hope to have construction finished by the end of October. As part of our ongoing federal election coverage, we turn our attention to the Conservative candidate for Thunder Bay Superior North. This is the first campaign for Joshua Taylor, and he's on a mission to bring back the sense of community he feels has been lost under the current Liberal government. Danielle Bain has tonight's candidate profile.
When it comes to Conservative candidate Joshua Taylor, he believes someone needed to step up to help this riding reach its full potential. The Geraldton native wants to take an approach where everyone's voice is heard without hostility or judgment, no matter what party you belong to.
I think that we need to be able to have crucial dialogues and actually discuss with one another without trying to dehumanize another person, really trying to understand another person's point of view. And I think that's something that's really lacking in politics right now that I know we can't have.
With a wide-ranging career background, which includes aerial fire detection, 911 dispatcher, and anti-vaping and tobacco programmer with the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, Taylor believes he's ready to take on this kind of responsibility and the many issues he wants to tackle.
As the youngest candidate at 28, I think I understand affordability more than really any other candidate because it's directly affecting me. For example, I'm still renting, right? And I would obviously like to own a home one day. And so when I'm looking for solutions, I want them to be practical and basically relatable to anyone who's willing to work hard and put in an honest day's work.
Along with affordability, Taylor wants to focus on rural representation and crime reduction. The graduate of Western University says he isn't doing this to get his name out there. He's running because he really wants to see the change Thunder Bay and the North Shore needs.
I don't want to ever be that celebrity who people make a big promotion about when they go to a small town or to any local event for that matter. I feel like I'm doing something wrong if I'm being celebrated for attending something like that. It should never be a promotion. I should just be another person at an event. And especially because I'm running on representation, I need to be true to my word.
Danielle Bain, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police have charged a local man with accessing child pornography. An investigation was launched back in March and multiple electronic devices were seized from a home on Chilton Avenue. 33-year-old Kyler J. Mirren was arrested this morning and appeared in court today. He's been released with conditions and will be back in court on October 1st. A 17-year-old youth faces a list of charges stemming from an incident on Victoria Avenue around 8:30 Wednesday morning. He allegedly approached a woman and demanded that she accompany him into a nearby alley to fight. When she refused, the accused pulled a knife and began to threaten her. He then fled the scene after apparently spotting security personnel in the area. Police located the youth on May Street last evening. He was arrested without incident, but did give police a fake name at the time. Officers were able to positively identify him, and it was discovered that he was already prohibited by court order from possessing weapons. The name of the accused can't be released as he's still a minor. The Thunder Bay Port Authority saw mixed results when it comes to cargo totals for the month of August. Port spokesperson Chris Heikkinen says Kiefer Terminal recently handled its largest shipment to date of European steel rail headed for Western Canada. As a result, general cargo shipments were more than double the amount seen in August of 2020, and potash shipments were 3 times higher than last year. As for grain, the port saw a rare inbound shipment from Hamilton destined for Manitoba to help cattle farmers deal with the summer drought. The overall grain totals last month were about 28% lower than August of last year, and the year-to-date totals are down about 20%. But the overall numbers are all near or slightly above the port's 5-year averages. As the beginning of school approaches, Lakehead University began ushering students into their residence buildings today, marking a return to learning both in person and virtually. Hundreds of students and their parents flocked to residences this morning, bringing boxes and luggage full of personal items for the coming school year. A majority of classes at LU are still being held online, but many students prefer to live at Lakehead regardless of the learning format. Director of Resident Services Shannon Foster spoke about the overall impact to the student numbers at Lakehead University this fall.
We're down a little bit compared to what we'd call some pre-COVID time, but our numbers are pretty healthy. We're going to be about 700 students this year. Just to put that in perspective, last year we had about 300. So, and I know we have a number of students that are looking to come for January, so we're very excited.
It's extremely exciting, especially moving across the country. School here is extremely different than Phoenix, Arizona, so it's an exciting change.
Students will continue settling into their new accommodations over the long weekend, with the majority of classes at LU starting on Tuesday. Meanwhile, local elementary and high school students are also headed back to the class next week. For the kids heading to grade 9, the Lakehead and Catholic school boards have been hosting open houses this week to help prepare those students for their high school experience. William Dougal has more.
Incoming grade 9 students at local high schools such as Westgate and St. Ignatius were able to tour their new schools and check out their classrooms ahead of the start of the school year next week. After a tough year and a half during the pandemic, the students we spoke to are thrilled to go back to school and see their friends.
I'm very excited. My brother goes here and he said he really likes it, and it's nice to get out of my house.
I'm really excited, although I'm also pretty nervous. It's good to be back at a school, especially if you've been doing online school for a year, so it's pretty fun.
Excitement by students is shared by many parents and educators alike. Parents are relieved their children can participate in big life moments like starting high school and playing school sports, and high school principals are very glad to get back to working with students directly.
The vast majority of students are returning to in-person learning, so we're super happy about that. We still have a small collection of students, much less than last year, that are opting for fully virtual learning, and we'll continue to support them from home.
The pandemic's not over, but we have to keep living life, I guess, and she's entering high school, so it's important and exciting for her to be doing that. I'm glad she isn't at home.
As educators, everyone in education got into this business to work with kids directly, and working with them in an online environment, it's just not the same. And so everyone's really excited to have the kids back. I know as a parent, my kids are excited to get out of the house and just be with their friends and get back to some sort of a normalcy.
Tours for incoming grade 9 students will continue at Hammersholt, Westgate, and Superior High Schools through Friday, followed by the first day of school on Tuesday. William Dougal, TBT News.
Well, I know for myself that first day